Into the ball game as Paul Mokeski has become kind of a cult hero in Milwaukee, Tommy.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of We Got Next. I'm Rickey Hampton, along with my great friend Paul Mokeski, coming to you on a Monday. Hope everybody's doing great, had a great weekend. Hope your teams are still alive in the NFL playoffs. Some I didn't have to worry about much this year since my team didn't make it, Mo.
You're fine both, man. Lucky the games were good, or I wouldn't watch them.
Yeah, but Mo, we got, and first and foremost, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is our happy hour edition tonight. A lot of stuff going on. Got some great NBA basketball. Got the national title game in college football tonight. And Mo and I just wanted to get on early so you guys could get to your evening and enjoy the festivities. Hey, but Paul, 10 coaches have been fired in the NFL today. And I know, and the reason I'm asking you this question, what people don't understand, not only 10 coaches are let go, the staff, and in the NFL, that could be 15 to 20 guys. So you could have 200 guys looking for jobs today.
Or girls.
One or two guys. Harbaugh's now in New York. But you get what I'm talking about. The pressure that are on coaches and their staffs to be successful. And you've been through all that.
Guys and girls, by the way. There's a lot of female.
Yeah.
But yeah, so people got to realize that when the head coach goes, most of, if not all, of his staff goes with him or her. And, so they're going to be looking for jobs. But Harbaugh's staff, they're celebrating along with Harbaugh that he got a job. And he's probably going to bring us along with him, depending on, some of those guys are getting interviewed for head positions. And, I think I heard the Miami coach is going to be interviewed here in Las Vegas. Actually, he's going to be interviewed in Miami because that's where the national college football game is. So the staff from the Raiders here are flying down there to interview him and watch that quarterback for Indiana. But, it's more than just one person and their family. We forget about the families too, wives, kids, all that stuff. And, it's a lot of people involved, and, it's tough business. That's, coaching is not a business for the faint of heart. It's a tough business. You have to be able to get up and go. Mostly people in the coaching business, 80% do not have guaranteed contracts. Most assistants and others maybe have 1 or 2 years, not like the head coaches who usually have 4 or 5 years. So, you got to be able to find a job at a drop of a hat. So it's a tough business, very tough.
And that applies to our professional sports: football, basketball, baseball, hockey, where competition is at the highest level, and college athletics nowadays.
Well, college is professional now, so we know that, right? College is professional.
You've been saying that, and what you said is right. It's even worse than professional football now because of the yearly free agency that is occurring in college sports.
Yeah, and the money, they're making money, NIL money. So, it's professional, and, it's wild out there in college because players can leave at a drop of a hat. I mean, watching, basketball games, especially college basketball games, when they go the breakdown of where that player was, well, he was at Indiana and then he went to Texas. He's a 6-year senior that's been to 5 schools. That's like it's just the norm now. And you just pack up and leave and go to the next best place or the next place that pays you the most money. And, that's just part of the business. And, that makes it very difficult. I mean, it used to be, back in the day, if you were in the draft room and one of the players you were looking at had, 2 colleges on their resume, let alone 3, that was a red flag. Why did they leave? What happened? What was behind that?
Yeah.
And, 4 schools in 5 years. Who cares?
Hey, Mo, the latest domino to fall today occurred in Buffalo, where Sean McDermott was fired after 9 years. The guy went 98 to 50, 50, made the playoffs 8 times. He was 8-8 in the playoffs. And I think this year, with Patrick Mahomes out of the way, people thought, okay, Buffalo, this is your shot. And of course, they lost over the weekend, and I guess they wanted to we're going to try something different.
Yeah, I mean, what have you done for me lately? And look at that game. They're a questionable interception call away from winning the game.
Yeah.
You don't get fired.
Yeah.
So
now he's out of a job.
That's how I can't remember which game I was watching, and there's a big time completion at the end of the game, and the linebacker jumped up and missed the pass by a half an inch.
Yeah.
Or they lose. And that's how it is in sports. And players play. That's okay. They get paid money. They get injured and all that stuff. But every little thing counts. A half inch there, a half inch there, and we're going to the to the Super Bowl, or I'm getting fired. I mean, that's a big difference, right?
Yeah, and with a guy like McDermott, he still has money owed to him on a contract, so he's fine financially. But what you just said about his staff, I'm sure he hates that for them as much as himself, because now these guys are looking for jobs. So
yeah, well, when you're an assistant coach in professional sports, you're always cultivating relationships at the summer league, at meetings, whatever that might be. You're talking to other assistant coaches and other head coaches, because you never know when if they know, if a head coach knows of you and talks to you and you stick in their mind, you could get hired. So, you're not trying to get to another position, but you got to cover your back and make sure that if changes happen, you have another avenue to go, because guess what? Your livelihood, your family's livelihood all depend on that. So,
yeah.
And we know, like, some of these coaches, like Harbaugh, got picked up he was out of a job for about 4 days, I think,
Yeah.
Because some people's, move on. You got to move on from his coaches. Some other people's, let's get this coach and see if he can turn us around.
Hey, Mo, let's look at the games that took place over the weekend right quick, and then I want to get to the NBA, because we had some big announcements today in the NBA. We got a lot of games taking place today in the NBA. Also got the college football national title game tonight. University of Miami versus the Indiana Hoosiers. And we're not used to seeing the Indiana Hoosiers play for a football championship. We have seen them play for a basketball championship. So I want to get your thoughts on some of that stuff too. But Paul, I thought the best team that played over the weekend was the Seattle Seahawks, who destroyed San Francisco 41-6.
Yeah, but San Francisco is injury ridden. Half their starters are out with injuries. So, it's hard to win if you don't have your starters that can play. We've talked about that in basketball. It's the same in football, except it's a little different because, you have backups that play a lot. You have, 7 off 8 offensive linemen that can move around, stuff like that. But if your receivers are hurt, I think that I'm not sure, I'm not positive, but they might have been the team that lost 2 of their wide receivers who tore their ACLs the week before. So, it's a tough, tough way to go. So Seattle is proving that they are the real deal, because there's been question marks around them all season. But it was probably the only non really competitive game left in the NFL this past weekend, and they just ran over San Francisco. but San Francisco is really beat up. So
the disappointing performance of the weekend for me was in Houston with C.J. Stroud. I mean, Mo, he looked lost. If you remember, a couple of years ago, he had this great rookie season, and everybody said he's the next one. I think he threw 25 touchdowns, maybe 4 or 5 picks. And apparently he got scouted because he hadn't come close to that since.
Well, he got scouted for sure. I mean, it's like baseball, right? When you have a new pitcher that's coming around, the first time you see that pitcher, it's hard to hit him. But after you see them a couple times, you scout them and you get used to them, and then they're not as effective as they were the first time around. It's the same thing, especially with a quarterback. But but who knows what? Maybe the offensive line changed. Maybe the receivers changed. Maybe football. There's so many variables of success for whatever position you're playing. That, especially quarterback. I mean, if you don't have an offensive line to protect you, you're in trouble. You are.
That's true. So we got New England. They're going to be playing the Broncos. And you talk, Mo, one of your things, tell me who's available. And Bo Nix would not be available for this game. He broke his ankle late in that game against the Bills. I didn't even realize until the next day. And he had a terrific game, threw 3 touchdown passes. Now they go into the championship game with Stidman, who's played a little bit, but I'm sure they'd rather have Bo Nix out there.
Yeah, and of course you're a reporter, and you don't notice some of the little things. I'm a coach; I notice everything. So at the end of that game, when you watched Bo Nix jog to the sideline, you knew something was wrong. And then they had close-ups of him talking to the head coach at the end of that game, and his face looked like he was in pain. He was just trying to kind of bounce up and down a little bit. He was not right. I could tell he was injured, and he was just hoping he didn't have to make another play or run anywhere. And fortunately for the Broncos, he didn't have to. But, guys are going to have to step up. The backup quarterback has been around. He's a 7-year veteran. He was here with the Raiders for a while. And all he has to do, and what the coaches are telling him right now, don't turn the ball over. You don't have to make spectacular plays. Just make the solid plays. Let our defense do the work. Let our running and offense, just kind of flow. You don't have to be, an all-star. You just have to keep us don't turn the ball over and keep us momentum going in the right direction. And please don't try to do anything spectacular.
Jerry Stidman, is the backup, and he does have experience. He played in LA, and it's so funny you talked about just that, Mo. And when you watch Caleb Williams, man, he makes all these spectacular plays, and then he throws the ball to the other team.
Yeah, I mean, that last pass was, I don't know how many guys in the NFL can throw that and get it to where he got it, where it completed. And, that's a spectacular play. But then, what have you done for me lately?
Right.
He turns the ball over when the game's on the line. And when you have spectacular players like that in any sport, you're going to be excited about their great plays, but you're going to have to live with their mistakes. And that's what, you look at Mahomes' progress through all these years. He was spectacular and a great quarterback, but when he stopped making as many mistakes is when he lifted his level up to GOAT level. And that's what spectacular players who are capable of doing a lot of things have to learn. There's a time and place, for doing that play. Sometimes it's better for you to just throw the ball out of bounds, get back in your huddle, go for it, rather than try and make a spectacular play and it turns into an interception and game over.
And that's why I kind of equate a quarterback in the NFL. He probably relates to a point guard as much as any kind of sport kind of interrelates. because he's always got his ball in hand like a point guard, and your decision making is everything.
Yeah, but now your whole team is making decisions, right? You got centers dribbling the ball down. You got wings dribbling the ball down. So there's very few true point guards in the NBA, but decision making is key. Like in basketball, good shots and limited mistakes, turnovers are huge. You can have a great year if you always take good shots and you don't turn the ball over, silly turnovers. That's what drives Steve Kerr crazy with Golden State is they throw silly passes and silly turnovers, which kills you. So, but like Shea Alexander became MVP last year as a point guard because, like you said, he was making a lot better decisions and not trying to do the spectacular play all the time. Sometimes it's the right play to just give it to the open guy. Look at Michael Jordan, one of the best players ever. And in two championship games, he passes to Paxton and to Kerr for winning jump shots. That's making the right play.
Yeah, and LeBron is criticized so much because if he sees a guy open, he's throwing him the ball. I'm like, that's the right play.
Yeah, I agree with you, but it depends on who that guy is. I mean, if they're coming down the floor and just because you're open, Ricky, they throw it to you, that's a mistake. Now, if I'm open, that's a good play. I'm going to knock down the
Mo, I'm open, man. What you talking about?
Yeah, there's a reason you're open, Ricky.
Oh, my goodness. Welcome, everybody out there. I see people beginning to tune in. Hey, send us your questions and comments, any thoughts over what occurred over the weekend in the NFL. We got the NBA's, man, in full blast now, Mo. We got the MLK games going on today. I can't wait to watch my Pistons and the Celtics tip off tonight. Got coaching news. Sean McDermott was fired in Buffalo. And more, I do want to get to some NBA because now we're beginning to take shape with this season, right? Pretty much the halfway point. What's your thoughts on what you've observed so far?
Well, we are at the halfway point, so we can actually make some educated comments about what's going on. Where it drives me crazy when the pre-power rankings come out, and
Right.
especially in college, the rankings before the season, you don't know anything. You're just projecting that this is what should happen. But as we both know in sports, what should happen very rarely does happen. It's crazy. But as far as the NBA. Obviously, really at the halfway point, really disappointed in my Milwaukee Bucks. They're just wallowing around they're in 11th spot at 17-24. And Giannis is talking about being traded, and he's not being traded. And, they're losing games. And over the weekend, if you notice, I think Milwaukee got blown out by somebody at home, and Milwaukee fans started booing the Bucks. And Giannis got mad at that. Milwaukee fans are not like Philly fans or New York fans who boo all the time if you're not doing well. Milwaukee fans are really loyal, but they're booing because they're getting frustrated. And, because, this team, the team that they have right now, should not be in 11th place no matter what in the kind of weak East. They should be up in the top 5 or 6 at the minimum. And, the trade deadline's coming up February 5th. So we're going to see what happens. But they're a big disappointment. Indiana Pacers are in last place. And we know that Halliburton is out with an injury. But they have enough players on that team, that played really well last year that they shouldn't be in last place. They should be 10-33. I mean, let's talk about the Celtics, who lost their best player, Tatum, and they're in second spot at 26-15. So it's mind-boggling to me that the Indiana Pacers are at the bottom of the East, and as impressive as the Celtics being in the second spot. So those are the two big things. And the other thing in the East is Cleveland. Cleveland, I thought, had made some moves. They got deeper. I thought this was going to be their year to finish in the top 1 or 2, and they're kind of wallowing around in 5th place, battling with Toronto and Philly. So in the East, those are my comments in the East. In the West, OKC started off and they're going to win 80 games, and then reality hit, but still they're the cream of the crop at 35-8. And out of their 8 losses, 3 of them are to San Antonio, who's a surprise at 2nd spot at 29-13. And their young players and young nucleus, not only Wembanyama, but all those guys, the new rookie point guard, and they're playing so well. I saw them play here in Vegas at the Emirates Cup, and they're just really coming on earlier than ever. Denver's still there. Denver's a powerhouse. And then you have, the regular New Orleans and
Minnesota, Houston.
They're all down there. And then the Clippers, who are one of the highest paid teams in the league, and they're at 18-23. What are they going to do? So, and the Golden State Warriors are 24-19. They're fighting for a playoff spot, but, it's still the wild, wild west, but OKC, San Antonio, and Denver are the powerhouses in the West, along with Minnesota and Houston, who are, and the Lakers and Phoenix are kind of right around there. But all those teams that I just mentioned are 8 or 9 games out of first place. And at this point, with 40 games left, 8 or 9 games trying to catch up to a really good Oklahoma City team is a tall mountain to climb.
Yeah. Hey, Mo, the surprising thing to me has been the Pistons. They're 30-10. 2 years ago, they lost 28 games in a row. I knew they were going to be a good team today, this year. I did not see 30-10. They don't have three-point shooting, not a lot of it. They got Duncan Robinson, but it's been their defense has been terrific. And they've taken advantage of some of these teams slipping. Like everybody talks about the Knicks. I mean, supposed to be running away with the East, but it's not happening.
Yeah, I think you underplay that a little bit because Duncan Robinson is a big time maker, big time 3-point shooter. So yeah, the Pistons are young, athletic, they're long, they play defense, they get out there and get after you. But you look at Cunningham and Tobias Harris and guys like that, when you have a Duncan Robinson who can knock down threes all over the floor, it opens up everything for those guys and makes them better. Sometimes you add a piece or two and everybody flourishes, and that's the case in Detroit. They still don't have a really solid center, but they're doing well with what they have. So, they have been a surprise turnaround, but, they're one of the up-and-coming young teams, like the San Antonio Spurs.
I remember what you told me about Ron Holland a couple of years ago. They have Ron Holland and Arthur Thompson. Neither one of these guys are scorers, but, man, they defend, and they just play with their hair on fire. And a couple of years ago, Holland was like the quarterback. He might make a great play, then he might make 2 bad plays. Now his hustle plays are mostly good.
You know why? Because instead of him trying to shoot threes because he can't shoot worth a lick, Duncan Robinson is shooting the threes. So all going to the basket is a strength for him. So you know what? As a coach, hey, I love your attitude. I love your work ethic. You're playing. Don't shoot threes. Period. Yeah. Never.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mo. Hey, what age I asked about the trades, Mo?
About what?
It's still a little early.
For what trade are we talking
about? Yeah, what big trades would they text me what you're talking about? I'm sure he's probably talking. Giannis is a name I keep hearing. And the Pelicans say they aren't trading anybody. I mean, Ja Morant, his name always comes up. I would not want Ja Morant on my team, Mo. I'm sorry.
I don't know. So let's go back to my lowly, sad, pitiful Milwaukee Bucks, who are on the right. So they picked up as a free agent Turner, the center from Indiana that killed them in the playoffs. He could shoot, he could drive, but he's having a bad year. He's averaging like 13 points and 6 rebounds. So he's not performing like he should. And Bobby Portis, who is another big that is one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA, by the way. He's shooting almost 40% from the three, over 153. So those guys kind of match the same position. Giannis is doing Giannis things, but Milwaukee doesn't have a guard. They don't have a guard. So let's look at their guards. We got AJ Green, who's a shooter. We got Trent. That's it. We don't have a guard. So why don't we, if we're looking at trading Giannis, why don't we try something first? Why don't we go after Ja Morant, who just played in London and Germany and played pretty well? He's got off-court problems. You know, he's been a headache. But if we can, and I can't believe I'm saying this because I never believe somebody changes their stripes or can't teach an old dog new tricks. But what do we have to lose?
Right. That's the difference, Paul. That's the difference.
So why don't we trade Portis and some other guy? We have 2 draft picks this year. We have our own and Utah's. We have 3 other first-round picks. Why don't we package that with a Portis and somebody else that makes the salary work and just go and get Ja Morant and hopefully a change of scenery and teammates and maybe a coach in Doc Rivers will put that insurgence of excitement. And who knows, maybe with a half season left, we can make a run. Ja Morant 2 years ago was considered to be one of the MVPs of the league, right? So why don't we make that move and see what happens? Because guess what? We can make a run this year, try and get to the 5th spot, something like that, and make a run with Ja Morant and Giannis and Turner and that kind of around those guys and make a run at it. And guess what? If it doesn't work, we can do something in the offseason. Maybe we trade Ja Morant somewhere else. Maybe we trade Giannis. But at this point, you got to do something.
Yeah, because and as much as I love the Pistons, aren't going to scare anybody going into the playoffs. Being a number 1 seed.
Not if the Bucks have Ja Morant, right? And Giannis. Really? How are you going to stop those 2 guys? And you got Green and Turner, who shooters around them. You know, at this point, what do you have to lose? If you're talking about trading Giannis, one of the best players in the league, top 5 for sure. If you're talking about that, why not talk about a move like this and see what happens and then decide if it's worth it? Maybe Ja Morant grows up a little bit, and then you get a future MVP maybe.
Chris is asking about the Celtics and the Pacers. They're on 2 opposite ends.
Yeah.
Of the spectrum. I mean, Boston, they're just a good, solid basketball team, even without their best player.
Yeah, I mean, for years we talked about can Tatum and Brown coexist, or do we need to move one of them and get some superstar at some other position? And they held strong, and now Brown is having such a great season that they don't even miss Tatum that much. And just think, if he does come back at the end of the season, who knows what they can do in the Wild Wild West? Because I don't trust the Pistons. I don't trust the Knicks anymore. I thought they're going to be better than they are. I saw them play here, and I saw them, win the Emirates Cup, but they're just not the team I thought they were. Boston is just there. Derek White is the story of the Boston Celtics. Solid on offense, on defense, every day, in and out. He just plays smart. And they got players around them, and they're playing like a team. So, and Indiana, on the other hand, has the talent that Boston has, even with Halliburton out, and they're at the bottom. That's what's mind-boggling to me. And that comes to coaching staffs, and that comes to players in your locker room,
And And Rick Carlisle's a good coach.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's a lot of good coaches that get fired. We know that.
Well, you can be a good coach, but if your players aren't listening to you, what good is it?
Right. Yeah. Mo, the Knicks are 2-8 in the last 10. They've lost 3 straight. Mike Brown was supposed to, I don't know, be different than Tibbs, which he is. But I think it's been a bad difference.
Well, I think he's different personality, absolutely, and he's a little more offensive oriented. Tibbs is more defensive oriented. But the big thing on Tibbs last year was right. He's playing his starters into the ground. He's not giving them rest. And Brown is not as bad, but almost.
Right.
Look, it's that Brunson and Towns and all those. They're almost identical to last year. So all those fans out there were like, "Well, Tibbs runs his players into the ground. They have no legs left." Well, look at what you're doing. It's a totally different coach, totally different mentality, totally different coaching staff. But the same thing is happening. So, I mean, I watched the team here. Anunoby is a great player. He's a superstar in this league. Robinson's a great defender, rim protector. Hart is one of the best rebounding guards ever. And Bridges is coming alive. So, and Clarkson is playing well. But it's mind-boggling that they haven't done as well as everybody thought they were going to. But you know what? Like I said before, NBA season is not a sprint. It's a marathon.
Right.
There's a lot of time left. The problem with the Knicks, in my opinion, is you got Towns, who is a big-time scorer, but he's more of an outside threat, not a low-post threat. And then for most of the game, Brunson's running the show. The ball and all the time. He's dribbling the air out of that thing. And when you got guys like Anunoby or Towns or whatever, and they're just standing around a lot of the time, that becomes a problem. So, okay, we're gonna let big body Brunson win the game for us. Well, you got to have more than that if you're going to make a run into playoffs. So, there's still time. I think they're still growing. They're still getting used to each other. They had success here in Las Vegas, so hopefully they'll figure it out that we can not rely so heavily on Brunson, even when he's in the game, as we are now. Because you see them, they change. When he goes out of the game, they change their pace of the game. They're more up-tempo, and more guys get involved. And you can see it happening. They need to be able to do that with Brunson on the floor, and less ISO, and less dribble, pick and roll stuff. So, this is a time where a lot of coaches and coaching staffs go back and they look at all their game film.
Self-scout.
What's that? Yeah. Why are we losing? I mean, there's guys. I mean, look at the NBA coaching. There's like 20 guys on the bench. So,
right.
I'm going to tell one guy, hey, I want you to go through every fourth quarter of every game we lost and won, and what plays we ran and what mistakes we made. And then I want this other guy to go through all the first quarter to see why we started slow, why we started fast, and do that, break it all down, and then bring it all together. We're going to get breakdown of, well, this is what happened. This is, well, we got to change this and tweak this. And if you're open to doing that and trusting your staff, because you got 100 of them, you might as well trust them. Why are they there? And then all that information and make changes to make a run in the second half. I guarantee all the teams that are struggling a little bit, not the bottom feeders, but struggling a little bit, they're all saying, listen, we kind of struggled in the first half. We're still in the playoffs right now. We have a half of the season to change this up and make a big run and have a great season.
And Mo, the All-Star team was the 10 starters were announced for the All-Star game, which is February 15th in LA. The new version of the game. I still don't really understand how it's going to take place, but I will give everybody the starters.
I'll let you know either.
From the West, Luka Doncic from the Lakers, Steph Curry, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the Joker, Victor Wembanyama. That's a big front line right there. It's those two. Talk about Twin Towers. In the East, Tyrese Maxey from the Sixers, Jalen Brunson from the Knicks, Kate Cunningham from the Pistons, Jaylen Brown from the Celtics, and Giannis. Your thoughts on those guys?
Well, like you said, what I understand is there's going to be 3 separate teams with 8 players each on each team. There's going to be an all international team. So if you're looking at an all international team, you're looking at Luka, Shea Alexander, the Joker, Wemby, and Giannis. Those are your 5 on the international team, right? And then you have the other guys that are going to split up on 2 different American teams, to leave it simple. So it's going to be interesting how they're going to do this. But like I said before, my money's on the international team. And I think they should have done it, like I've said for years now. They should have just had one U.S. team and one international team that play a regular game, play a 48-minute game, and see the best team wins. They were afraid to do that, so they're doing a version of it where we're going to have 3 teams, but the U.S. team is going to be split up on 2 teams. So it's not the best U.S. team because we know we're going to get beat by the national team anyway. I mean, the international team.
Well, the game is the 15th. We'll see what happens there.
I mean, the best bigs in the NBA are on the international team.
Yeah, yeah.
Joker. The 3 best bigs are on the international team.
Wemby, the Joker, yeah.
And find me a U.S. born center.
What's happening with U.S. basketball, Mo?
Do we have another 2-hour show? I mean, so much is wrong with U.S. basketball. The development, the grassroots part of it, too many AAU tournaments, not enough development. Opposite of what's going on overseas, where in the summer they develop skills and they play few games, not many. We do in the United States, we do the opposite. We play 8 million games. I mean, AAU high school players are playing 50 games in the summer, 60. And how do you get better? You got to work your development, but especially with the post position has really got distorted. And in the United States, all 7-footers usually in the United States want to shoot threes and dribble the ball, and do all that stuff, which is great. But when you look at Giannis, the Joker, Wemby, they can do that, but they also post up and get to the basket. I think Allen from Cleveland, he's an American center. I mean,
You just don't have a lot of them.
Holmgren, but he's really a forward. He's not a center.
Right.
I mean, that's scary what's happening.
Right. Yeah.
Well, look at college. When you watch college games, most of the centers in college are from other countries. A lot of them from Nigeria, a lot of them from Australia. All the bigs are from other countries. Not very many American bigs in college basketball anymore.
That is a strange thing, man. But Mo, do you think the 3-point shot has been good for the game?
I think so.
I know it is part of the game.
Yeah, it's a big part of the game. I mean, so people get upset when there's, a team has a 15-point lead and it's over. It's not over anymore. You can get 3 stops and hit 3 threes, and that turns that into a 6-point lead, 2-possession game. So, that's changed the game in a positive way. It's also spread the floor, to let people get to the basket. That's why there's no zone in the NBA, because they don't want to clog up the middle so people can't get to the basket and dunk it. Well, that's what the 3-point line does. The problem with the 3-point shot is bad shooters are shooting threes. Bad shooters are shooting threes. I'm not pointing you out, Ricky, no offense, but bad shooters are shooting threes. So that's a problem. And now when you go to the youth centers, everybody's jacking up threes. I mean, even in the G League, or I watch a college practice, and I see a guy, I don't care what position, and he's shooting a 3-point shooting drill, right, where he's getting like 1 minute of shots or whatever, and he goes like 2 for 15. You should not shoot threes. Sorry, if you can't make a shot in a three in a shooting drill, you shouldn't shoot threes in a game. You in a shooting drill at every level, if you can't make, you shoot 20 threes, you can't make 13 or 14 of them wide open. You shouldn't shoot threes in the game, but they do.
What would be your rule on that, Paul?
I've had to rule. If you don't shoot 33% from the three, you can't shoot but a couple threes a game at the most. Because, I want guys that are shooting 33% from the three to shoot all my threes. Because the analytics says 33% from the three is like 50% from the two, which is a great shooting percentage. So that's the rule.
Hey, I just looked it up. Guess who has taken the least amount of three-pointers this year? My Pistons.
Oh, you're talking about teams. I'm thinking about players.
As a team, here's a team. They know they don't have three-point shooters, so they don't shoot them. The right guy shoots them.
Yeah. So here's how you're in first place. Holland and whoever, you look up the stats, Ricky, they're not shooting threes. Duncan Robinson is probably shooting the most threes.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. Yeah.
I'll predict that. And that's everything. I mean, I took over a pro team in Canada years ago, and they were like 2-12 or whatever they were. And I watched film and I look at the stats, and all the bad shooters were shooting all the threes, and all the good shooters weren't getting threes. I said, we're changing that right now. And I put their names on the board. These guys, you're shooting 33%, you can shoot threes as many as you want till you get below that 33. You guys here that are shooting below 33%, you can't shoot more than 2 threes in a game, and you better make one of them to get on that other list. You can't shoot more than 2 threes in a game, or I'm going to take you out of the game.
Wow.
We won the next 5 games just by doing that.
Mo, Ashar Thompson has taken 19 threes.
There you go. How many has Holland taken?
20.
How many has Robinson taken?
109.
That comes down to coaching and accountability and players willing to listen.
And he's shooting 40%. Duncan is.
Yeah, so he's top of the league in shooting threes, and he gets to shoot them. That's just common sense, right? But how many NBA teams and college teams don't abide by that? I mean,
But that's what kills me. But this is the NBA. This is the highest level. How do teams miss stuff like that?
Well, I've told you before. Half the teams in the NBA are not run very well from top to bottom. They're just not. They make bad decisions. They let stuff go. They don't hold people accountable. They have bad chemistry and makeup on their roster. That's half the league. I mean, you can't tell me that, the Brooklyn Nets or the Washington Wizards have been run right for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same teams. It's
New Orleans,
Washington, Brooklyn, Charlotte, Sacramento, New Orleans. Those are always at the bottom of the league. Now, this year you have Indiana at the bottom. That's weird. You got Dallas at the bottom. That's weird. But Sacramento, New Orleans, Washington, Brooklyn, Charlotte, they're always at the bottom. Look at the standings over the last 5 years. Those teams have been at the bottom every year. And you can't tell me you can't make some decisions and shake things up and change that mentality. Or like the Pistons did, they changed their coaching and brought in and make some good decisions. They knew they needed a shooter. They got Robinson, one of the best shooters. Now, Holland and Thompson, what do they do great? They play defense and they drive to the basket. That's what you get to do.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
But
somebody hired this man in that front office. My goodness.
I'm right here. I mean, it's not it's amazing to me. I coached in the NBA for 8 years. I coached in the G League. But I was in the rooms, and it's amazing decisions that some teams make is mind-boggling. And then some teams make great decisions. Like, Atlanta just traded Trae Young, right? And everyone's like, why would you trade Trae Young? Yeah, but they got back
CJ
McCollum, who has a $30 million expiring contract. $30 million. And they have Porzingis on their roster right now, who has a $30 million expiring contract. So what does that mean? That means next year, this summer, we have $60 million to play with to bring in free agents, to make trades, to get draft picks. Smart. That's
yeah. And another thing that you talk about is, the drafting of so many kids, 17, 18, 19 years old. And by the time they're ready to play, you're gone.
It's usually a crapshoot, right? If you're looking at 17, 18-year-old kids, it's a crapshoot. But some of the most successful now are 18, 17, 18-year-old kids that have played overseas since they played professional since they were 14 to 15 years old.
Yeah.
Luka grew up like that. He was a pro at 15 playing against men. So that's why the change in a lot of the drafting overseas players, because they start at a younger age, so they're more developed. Like Luka played professionally at a high level at 15 years old. So by the time he was 18, he had 3 years under his belt. He's like an NBA player that has 3 or 4 years of experience. You're a better player, or at least I know what you are. You're either not good or you're good.
Chris says general management or coaches, aka Jenny Buss or Jerry for the Cowboys. They run everything. Yeah, well, it's their team, so it's not running too well right now. I still think there's hope for the Lakers, though, Mo. They're 25-16. Austin Reeves haven't played, I can't remember that, maybe a month. They're going to get him back. Ayton had a great game for them last night. 25 points, didn't miss a shot. They're just in a very difficult. What's their ceiling to you?
I think at least win 2 rounds in the playoffs if they get the right team, because they're in the 5th spot. They're as good as Houston, which is 1 spot ahead of them, right?
Right.
No, they're in the 6th spot by a half a game behind Houston. And they're as good as Houston. If they're healthy, Minnesota's in the 4th spot, which is the first round at home, and they're a game and a half ahead of Lakers. But is Minnesota that much better than the Lakers? I don't think so. So they're right in that mix. They're not as good as OKC. They're not as good as Denver or San Antonio. But, if they get healthy, they added the big they needed. They could use another shooter, maybe cherry pick a shooter from some other team. AJ Green from the Bucks or somebody like that. And, spot up guy. And now you can move up into the 4th spot and have a chance at, making a run. You got Luka and LeBron on your team. You got a chance in a 7-game series.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a few more minutes left here. Hey, who you got in the football game tonight? We got the University of Miami versus Indiana.
Well, you want a tip? So Indiana is favored by 7.5. I take Miami in the points. And I think Miami could actually win the game. I might take them straight up. And the reason for that is Indiana has beat what are they, 15-0, and they've beaten some good teams. They beat Oregon when they're number 5. They beat Alabama at number 9. They beat Ohio State at number 2. So they beat some good teams. Miami has beaten more good teams. They beat Ole Miss at number 6. They beat Ohio State when they were number 2, just a couple weeks before, actually after Indiana did. They also beat Notre Dame this year, number 11, Iowa State, number 13, Syracuse, number 21. So they have the experience, and they're playing in Miami, at home. I think Indiana has a great quarterback. The Raiders are looking at him. But if I'm picking, the money says Indiana's going to win. I think Miami can pull this off. They're 7-1 at home. I think they got they beat Ohio State 24-14. Indiana beat Iowa State 13-10. So that's kind of a good gauge for me. I'm going to take Miami with the upset.
Chris likes Indiana, so that'll be fun. I'll be peeking in as I watch Boston and the Pistons. Hey, Mo, you mentioned the Raiders. I mean, you're right there. That's such a proud organization. What do you think they have not done? Well, you got to get a quarterback, obviously.
That's number one.
That's it, right? Yeah.
They haven't got a quarterback in the last 10 years. And look, the teams in the NFL that are the top level teams all have great quarterbacks, don't they? They all have great quarterbacks. Some have great offensive lines and good runners. Some have really locked down defense, but they all have great quarterbacks, all of them. So, Oakland, Las Vegas Raiders have really shored up their defense. They got really a great pass rush. They're pretty solid on defense, but their offensive line is weak, and they haven't got a quarterback. So at some point, you got to make a decision and stand by it and say, if it's the Indiana guy, if it's Oregon's guy, that's our guy. We're going to take him, and we're going to build around him because, we got a hole at the offensive line. We have a hole in the defensive back. Fill that later. Get a quarterback. You got a gaping hole at quarterback. You need to fill that first before you can plug any of the other holes in the dam that's been washing over you for the last 10 years.
Mo, and we just got a couple of minutes. I just got a text. Ask Big Mo, what was his favorite place to play? What was the toughest place to play? I'm assuming this is when you were with the Bucks, where y'all didn't give a damn where y'all played because y'all were that good.
Yeah, but so we're not talking about winning or losing. We're talking about having fun playing there. And the best place, the favorite places I had to play were the hardest places to play. Boston Garden, New York, Madison Square Garden, and the Lakers Forum. Those were my favorite places, the older buildings that had, banners up there and a history to them. And I grew up watching games in those places. Those were the funnest places to play. And interesting enough, most of the fans in those places, even though they're hard to play there because they're very loud and very adamant and all that, but they were very knowledgeable also. So, they respected good play and they got on you. I mean, playoff games in the Boston Garden were so loud in the timeout that I couldn't hear Jack Sigma 5 inches from my face yelling at me what to do. I couldn't hear him. All I heard was ringing in my ears. But, you look at Philly, playing in the Spectrum was awesome too because we're playing against Dr. J and those guys, Maurice Cheeks. That was special also. But fans in New Jersey and Philly and even Utah, people don't know, Utah fans are brutal. And they're very nasty and very personal. So
what happened to Utah Nice, man?
Not in the basketball. I mean, they are brutal.
Chris likes Seattle as a sleeper. Sam Darnold. Hey, there's a guy everybody thought was just washed up, was a bust, and he's turned around and had 2 great seasons. Had a great year in Minnesota last year, and even better year in Seattle this year. So they'll be going at it this weekend. Mo, we got to get out of here, brother. Always a pleasure. Man, I appreciate everybody checking in early with us tonight. We'll be back at our regular time next week. Enjoy the games. Enjoy the rest of your day. For my great friend, Paul Mokeski, I'm Rick Hampton. Peace.